briefly, I did graduate from UP in 1987 under the mentorship of Roberto Chabet, who is a conceptual artist. I started really early. I started exhibiting when I was in my third year in University of the Philippines. After a lot of transitioning from one major to another, I took up interior design briefly. I was into architecture. Before that, I was obsessed with ballet. I was a ballet dancer. So all of these has affected my works in terms of the ballet will show movement, a lot of movement in my works. The conceptual piece, which I did get from under the tutelage of Mr. Chabet, was the process of how the painting was done, the idea behind the painting. He encouraged a lot of experimentation with the form. I also like the square format, and usually I would paint, like you would see this is one of my earliest work. It was a painting from our thesis class, and I did 5 pairs of these, and this is actually a painting of my home in Caloocan, where I actually am staying right now, visiting my mom. So when we had to do a thesis class, I didn't know what to paint. There was kind of like a lack of experience about life. What is real life about? The only thing I can see is what's within these walls. So I just basically painted what was within what I saw, which is the garden, the stairs, the windows, and it's all kind of like topsy-turvy. You can actually turn around the paintings and you would get a different angle of the painting. The randomness of the composition is part of my concept. I don't do studies. I paint and draw directly on the canvas. I never know what the outcome is going to be. It's all a risk, and it's all intuitive.
From the house, I see things within things. This describes more or less my works, which is basically concerned with the theme space, the relationship of units, and the house, specifically its dislocation and fragmentation.
I just didn't know what else to paint except anything that was about my surrounding, which is home. So I got stuck in that interest. Then I went to England. I got a Master's in Fine Arts given by UNESCO to England. And I was walking in their bookstore and I found this interior design magazine called World of Interiors. The most elegant, really beautiful pictures of interiors, European interiors, beautiful colors were in there. And I said, I want that. I wish I lived there. I started doing works on paper based on interior design magazines. I wanted it not to look realistic. It was just my personality to do this kind of work that showed the brushstrokes. It led to doing hundreds of interiors, just obsessively doing interiors. I would experiment on form, colors. This is one of my experimentations. I was drawn to red, a lot of red. And then we have the interiors, the white porcelain pictures in an elegant cottage in England. And this is another offshoot of that from an interior design magazine. Almost eerily haunting and quiet. I was just interested in the form. So I continued exhibiting in the Philippines, and I would get tired of my works looking the same. So I changed. Every now and then I would I want to do this. I want to experiment. So there was a change again. And some of the images here are taken from actually art books. So I was one of the first people who tackled the issue of appropriation. So in the 1980s, one of the concepts that was taught to us by Chabet was what is appropriation? What is copying? If you have a still life here and you're copying it, why can you not copy what you see in an art book? What you see in an art magazine? This was taken from the artworks of German expressionist artists, neo-expressionism, David Bowie, and a lot of music was connected to art. And it would continue just playing around, and I came up with this. It's rare that I do small paintings, and this was kind of difficult for me because I was not doing my gestural brushwork. It was almost like a wrist painting, and that was very difficult for me because I was not very physical with it. But it's part of the process of experimenting, not knowing what the end result is gonna be. But in the end, it works out. 20 years later, I got burned out. That's the bottom line. I wanted to live, I fell in love, I wanted to have a normal life, and I realized I wouldn't get that in the Philippines, wherein I was very isolated. I told my mom, "Mom, I'm just gonna visit my sister." I never came back after 20 years. I got married. So life in the States, the adjustment, the horrific stress, the starting from scratch, just swallowing your pride, and you have a master's degree in finance, and yet you're serving, you're a barista in Budin bake shop, and you're working and just swallowing the pride and trying to make things work out, and then just the whole experience of being abroad I would say distracted me from painting. I just couldn't paint. So currently I work in Department of Public Health as a recreational therapist. I work with the homeless and the uninsured patients of San Francisco. I live in a very rough neighborhood, but I love it. I mean, not what's going on outside, but I've gotten used to it. So how can I not paint people now? After 20 years of being with people, and starting to love cats and animals. And at the same time, I said, I want more movement. My first love was ballet. How can I not have movement in my work? I was still interested in colors, but I wanted it looser. Actually, before this, I had a show in New York. It was kind of still different from this. I would also have paintings that showed restraint, like this one. This time, my husband shows up in the picture, my friends, my childhood, how I was a child. Children show up, and it's all intuitive. When I look at it now, it almost seems like I had to do this. It's part of the process of growing and not being afraid of change and mistakes.